Today on MTG Unpacked, we're getting stuck into the final Commander Legends Dungeons & Dragons Battle for Baldur's Gate Commander deck, Exit from Exile. So this is a Gruul deck that is red and green color combo. And the commander here is Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald. So let's see what we get here beyond the battlefield. So you're bringing stuff back from Exile. We get a collector booster sample pack, 100 card deck with 10 new cards, deck box, 10 double-sided tokens, foil etched display commander life rule strategy insert, and reference card. So let's get stuck into it. So these will set you back about 45 to 50 bucks US. You might be able to pick up the Commander Legends 1 decks a little bit cheaper, usually around 20. We've got some punch out cards here, and here is the deck box. Looks like she's hugging a bear. Okay then. And let's pull out the divider. You should be able to put a fully sleeved commander deck in here, but I wouldn't necessarily trust that. The boxes tend to be a bit flimsy. We've got our flyer. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then the life wheel here goes up to 40. So who knows, maybe that will serve your purposes. And here is the deck itself. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the collector booster sample pack. So I was sort of disparaging these in the first video. Changed my mind a bit when we got a crazy pull the other day. So go back and check the other videos. You'll see what I mean. Could not believe it. Okay, so we've got an ad card. Nothing exciting there. What else are we going to get? So we have Monster Manual. That's pretty cool. So extended art. And foil lightning bolt. Alright, so you can never have too many lightning bolts. And of course I got right to the end of the video without realizing I hadn't shown the flyer. So the magic of editing we're going to show you now. Exit from Exile. So this tells you about how to play the deck. We've got the commander rules here in case you're new to the format. So some awesome artwork there. He's got a wolf, or actually a couple of wolves there. And the commander here is Faldorn, so you can read some lore about that. So that is awesome. So we'll set this aside and get to cracking. Alright, so let's get into the deck here. So what have you been thinking about these decks so far? You're planning to pick any up? Let me know in the comments. So we do have a display commander here. So let's take a squiz at this. So here we have Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald. You can see the foil etched coating there, and it's thick cardstock. So this is basically what they're using to replace the oversized commander cards. So I'll pop that over there, and then let's cut the deck roughly in the middle and take a look at what we've got here. So here's the regular card. It's a mythic. We've got Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald, legendary creature, human druid, 3/3 for 3. Whenever you cast a spell from exile or a land enters battlefield under your control from exile, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, and for 1 tap, discard a card, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Alright, so cranking out the wolf tokens. Another mythic here, so foil. It is Durnan of the Yawning Portal. Legendary creature, human warrior, 3/3 for 4. Whenever Durnan attacks, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may exile a creature card from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, and for as long as that card remains exiled, you may cast it. That spell has Undaunted. So that means it costs 1 less to cast for each opponent. And you can also choose a background, so you can have a background as a second commander. Usually the next card here, yep, here we go. We have Passionate Archaeologist. It's another mythic. Another foil legendary enchantment background for 2 commander creatures you own have. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. Okay, and the deck's getting a little unwieldy here. I think there was some lands. Let's split that up even more. Okay, so the rest here we have Nature's Law. Sorcery for 2, search your library for a forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So I imagine you're going to want to do a lot of ramping here. Usually Gruul colors, you have dirty big creatures and lots of damage. We've got Arcane Signet Artifact for 2, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. They've been whacking those in all of these decks so far, along with Command Tower. So it's a land, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Along with Embereth Shieldbreaker, creature human knight 2/1 for 2. It also has this sorcery adventure portion, battle display for red, destroy target artifact. So if you cast that part first, you exile the card, then you may cast the creature portion from Exile. So that's from Throne of Eldraine. Demon Bolt, instant for 3. It deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. You can foretell for a single red. So during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. And Light Up the Stage. Sorcery for 3. Spectacle for a single red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. That was a good one back in the day. Volcanic Torrent. Sorcery for 5 has Cascade. And it deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker your opponent's control, where X is the number of spells you've cast this turn. And so you can read about Cascade there. It's pretty crazy. Beanstalk Giant, creature giant, star for 7. So its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And I think the idea is you have a ton of lands for ramping up to big dudes like this. Sorcery Adventure portion, we have Fertile Footsteps for 2 and a green. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And next we have Beast Within, instant for 3. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. That's a nice one as well. Cultivate, sorcery for 3. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. And Explore, sorcery for 2. You may play an additional land this turn, of course. Draw a card. Kadama's Reach. Whoa, they're really chucking in a lot of the lower end or somewhat valuable commons and uncommons here. Kadama's Reach. Sorcery Arcane for 3. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand. Then shuffle. Natural Reclamation. Instant for 5. Has Cascade. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. And Sakura Tribe Elder. So a lot of these cards, unless I'm mistaken, they're usually worth around $1. Seems to be pretty common. Creature Snake Shaman. 1/1 for 2. So if you sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And Search for Tomorrow. Sorcery for 3. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And you can suspend for 2. So pay the green there and read more about it. Terramorph. Sorcery for 4. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and it has Rebound. And 3 Visits, another nice one. Sorcery for 2. Search your library for a forest card. Put that card onto battlefield, then shuffle. More ramping goodness. Bloodbraid Elf, creature elf berserker. 3/2 for 4 with haste and cascade. And didn't they, I think they were reprinting this in Double Masters 2022 with different art as well. Grumgully the Generous, legendary creature, Goblin Shaman, 3/3 for 3 each other, non-human creature you control, enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And Ash Barrens, it's a land, tap for colorless, has basic land cycling 1. Soul Ring, I was wondering when we'd get to this one. Artifact for 1, tap for 2 colorless, pretty much in every commander deck these days. Blighted Woodland, it's a land, tap for colorless for 3 and a green, tap, sack it, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And Gruul Turf, enters tapped, when it enters battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, Tap 4 red and green. Myriad Landscape, so we've seen this in all of the other decks as well. Enters battlefield tapped. Tap for colorless for 2, tap, sack it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto battlefield tap, then shuffle. And Highland Forest. Tap 4 red or green, enters battlefield tapped. And if there's one criticism I have of all of these decks, you can probably replace these tap lands. There's so many here, they really slow things down. But they are cheap, that's why they're here. Temple of the False God. Land, tap for 2 colors. Activate only if you control 5 or more lands. And we've got a random mountain chucked in the middle. Not sure why they did that. We'll keep track of that later. Delayed Blast Fireball. I think this is a new card. Instant for 3. Deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If this spell was cast from Exile, it deals 5 damage to each opponent and each creature they control instead. And you can foretell for 4 and 2 red. Alright. Now Fishni, Creature Beast Demon, 4/6 for 6 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell from Exile, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this permanent. And since it's talking about Exile, I'm assuming this is one of the new cards as well. Green Slime is definitely a new one. Creature Ooze, 2/2 for 3 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, counter target activated or triggered ability from an artifact or enchantment source. And if a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent. You can foretell for a single green. Journey to the Lost City, enchantment for 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 4 cards of your library, then roll a d20. So if you roll 1 through 9, you may put a land card from among those cards onto the battlefield. If you roll 10 through 19, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, then put a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card among those cards. And if you roll a 20, put all permanent cards exiled with Journey to the Lost City onto the battlefield, then sacrifice it. So you've got to be pretty lucky for that to happen. We got Tlenkali Hunter, creature Scorpion Scout, 7/7 for 7. So it has trample. Once each turn you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a creature spell you cast from Exile. Or you've got the Retrieve Prey, 1 and a green, Sorcery Adventure portion. Exile target creature card from your graveyard until the end of your next turn. You may cast that card. And Venture Forth, sorcery for 4, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield and rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Exile Venture Forth with 3 time counters on it. And it has suspend 3 for 1 and a green. Savox Tome, artifact for 4. So when it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Tap for colorless, and if you have the initiative, add 2 colorless instead. And for 3, tap, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Activate only if you've completed a dungeon. And Aurora Phoenix, creature Phoenix, 5/3 for 6 with flying. And Cascade, whenever you cast a spell with Cascade, return Aurora Phoenix from your graveyard to your hand. And of course this guy, Bone Crusher Giant, creature giant, 4/3 for 3. Had a lot of fun with this one in Standard. Whenever Bone Crusher Giant becomes the target of a spell, the Bone Crusher Giant deals 2 damage to that spell's controller, and it has Stomp, 1 and a red, instant adventure, damage can't be prevented this turn. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target. And Direfleet Daredevil, I think this is from Ixalan, creature human pirate, 2/1 for 2 with first strike. Whenever Direfleet Daredevil enters battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast it this turn, and you may spend mana resort or mana of any type to cast that spell. And if that spell would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So you can also steal your opponent's stuff. That is awesome. Dream Pillager, creature dragon, 4/4 for 7 with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile that many cards from the top of your library. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards. And my mate, Atali Primal Storm. I don't know if you know, but this card's become a bit of a meme because they were handing them out like candy in those Walmart mystery boxes. Legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur, 6/6 for 6. Whenever a Tali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, then you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. And Greater Gargadon, creature beast, 9/7 for 10. What? Has suspend 10 for a single red. Sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. You get to remove a time counter from Greater Gargadon. Activate only if Greater Gargadon is suspended. And Ignite the Future. Sorcery for 4. Exile the top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. And if this spell was cast from a graveyard, you may play cards this way without paying their mana costs. And you can flashback for 7 and a red. Izzet Chemister, creature goblin wizard, 1/3 for 3 with haste. For a red, tap, exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and for 1 and a red, tap, sack it, cast any number of cards exiled with Izzet Chemister without paying their mana costs. Okay, so that's one way you're going to cheat out cards without paying those ridiculous mana costs. Ooh, Jeska's Will. This is a nice one. Sorcery for 3. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. You can add red for each card in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. And Laelia the Blade Reforged, legendary creature, spirit warrior, 2/2 for 3 with haste. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Laelia. And Misium Mortars, sorcery for 2. It deals 4 damage to target creature you don't control, has overload for 3 and 3 red. And Outpost Siege, enchantment for 4. As it enters battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. You can probably find out where this one came from. Khans, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. And Dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to any target. And Stolen Strategy, I think this is a new one as well. Enchantment for 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Okay, moving on to the rest of the deck. So we will chop out the lands. We'll take a look at those right near the end. Next up we have Tectonic Giant. Creature, Elemental Giant, 3/4 for 4. So whenever it attacks or becomes a target of a spell an opponent controls, choose one. It deals 3 damage to each opponent, or exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until end of your next turn. You may play that card. And Urabrask the Hidden, legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, 4/4 for 5. Creatures you control have haste. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. And this one actually just came out recently in Streets of New Capenna. So curious that they've reprinted it so soon. Warstorm Surge, enchantment for 6. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. And Wild Magic Sorcerer, creature, Orc Shaman, 4/3 for 4. The first spell you cast from exile each turn has Cascade. And Arasta of the Endless Web, legendary enchantment creature, spider, 3/5 for 4 with reach. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Battle Mammoth, creature, elephant, 6/5 for 5 with trample. Whenever a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card, and it has Foretell for 2 and 2 green. So yeah, definitely a deck if you like the beefy creatures like this one. Endray's Forerunners, creature boar, 7/7 for 8. Vigilance, trample, and haste. When it enters battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample until end of turn. Azuri's Predation, sorcery for 8. For each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green Phyrexian beast creature token. Each of those tokens fights a different one of those creatures. And Hornet Queen, creature, insect, 2/2 for, 7. Flying and Death Touch. Whenever Hornet Queen enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with Flying and Death Touch. Love-Struck Beast, another one from Throneville Drain. Creature, Beast Noble, 5/5 for 3. It can't attack unless you control a 1/1 creature. Has the Heart's Desire for a green sorcery adventure. Create a 1/1 white human creature token. So normally you'll cast that first and then you'll get the beast back on a following turn. Mana Gorger Hydra. Creature Hydra 1/1 for 3 has trample. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra. And that can get out of control pretty quick. Primeval Bounty. We've got a mythic enchantment for 6. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. Return of the Wild Speaker. Instant for 5. Choose one. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. And I think I saw Garrick in the deck here as well. We'll see that in a moment. Sandworm Convergence Enchantment for 8. What? Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, and at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. Sweet Gum Recluse. Creature Spider 0/3 for 6 with Flash, Cascade, and Reach. When it enters battlefield, put 3 +1/+1 counters on each of any number of target creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. And Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. Legendary Planeswalker Vivian, 4 loyalty for 3. You may cast creature spells as though they had Flash. Her +1 until your next turn up to 1 target creature gains Vigilance and Reach. -2. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And for as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card and you may cast it if it's a creature spell. Escape to the Wilds. Sorcery for 5. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may play cards exiled this way until the end of your next turn. You may play an additional land this turn. Oh, okay. No Garrick. No Garrick. Okay. Thought he was in here. You got Xenagos the Reveler. Legendary Planeswalker Xenagos, 3 loyalty for 4. His +1. Add X mana in any combination of red and or green, where X is the number of creatures you control. 0 ability is create a 2/2 red and green Satyr creature token with haste. And -6, exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may put any number of creature and or land cards from among them onto the battlefield. And lucky last here we have Chaos Wand. Artifact for 3. For 4, tap. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of that library in a random order. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the mana base here. We have Castle Embereth. It's a land, enters battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain. Tap it for red for 1 and 2 red. Tap. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. And Cinderglade for red or green. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Game Trail, another one red or green. As it enters battlefield, you may reveal a mountain or forest card from your hand. If you don't, Game Trail enters battlefield tapped. And Kessig Wolf Run. Land, tap for colorless for X, red and green. Tap, target creature gets +X, +0 and gains trample until end of turn. And Mossfire Valley. Land, pay 1, tap, you get to add red and green. Mosswork Bridge, it's another land, has Hideaway 4. Enters battlefield tapped and tap for green. For a green tap, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost if creatures you control have total power 10 or greater. And that actually shouldn't be too difficult with this deck. Raging Ravine. Land, enters battlefield tapped. Tap for red or green. For 2 red and green until end of turn. It becomes a 3/3 red and green elemental creature with, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's still a land. And Spine Rock Knoll, it's land with Hideaway 4, enters battlefield tap, tap for red, and for a red tap you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost if an opponent was dealt 7 or more damage this turn. And Temple of Abandon, enters battlefield tapped, and when it enters battlefield, scry 1, tap it for red or green. And then the basics, so remember we had a mountain earlier, so we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 11 of those. And forests, 12 of those. Okay, so roughly equal, as you might expect. Now the tokens, we have the initiative here. Whenever one or more creatures the player controls deals combat damage to you, that player takes the initiative. And when you take the initiative and at the beginning of your upkeep, venture into Undercity, which is actually on the other side here. And we've got a 2/2 wolf token on the other side, a 1/1 insect with flying and death touch. So another wolf and insect, so they usually have a couple of those. We've got a 1/2 spider with reach, and on the other side, insect 1/1 flying and death touch. And probably, oh no, so the spider and a human 1/1. We've got a satyr 2/2 with haste and a beast 3/3. Satyr and beast, Phyrexian beast 4/4. And a worm 5/5 on the other side there. Beast and worm and parts of your turn and popular magic formats. Okay, so this one is the deck to get if you like dirty big creatures with huge mana costs, lots of ramping, so you're trying to get as much mana out as you can as quickly as possible. Does not contain as much financial value as the other commander decks this time around, but there's a lot of $1 or $2 cards in here, so that's pretty decent. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this, and stay tuned later today. We're going to crack open a bundle of Commander Legends 2, so can't wait for that. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching and have a great day.